record. Hello, everybody. Share the desktop. Okay. Sorry? Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that's just what gets started there. Okay. So let me write a hello to everybody. And we should be recording already. Am I recording? Yes, pause recording, stop recording. Great. Very good. So, I mean, the good news is that upon general request, I gave a postponement to the homework 3 deadline, not to the homework 4 deadline though, but to the homework 3 deadline till Friday. So you have 2 more days to get it to work. I still have to post on Piazza about it. I think some students posted upon my instructions, but I haven't posted yet. So modulo that, the other announcement is Monday is vacation. Don't forget it, because of course I would have forgotten. Okay, so so just a reminder. I'm apparently famous for setting appointments with people in vacation days, just because I don't know. You know, my calendar is overcrowded, and so I didn't see that it was a vacation day. So Monday is vacation officially, and modulo that. I don't quite know what to do today, meaning that I can do what you want, and otherwise there are 2 things that I would like to do in this period, and I can do either. Yes, hi, a moment. So the 2 things I can do is, one is we can talk about how to do e-commerce, how to use the Stripe to process payments, which is yet another example of JavaScript. It's a fairly cute one. It's not an incredibly difficult one. I hope it works. I haven't checked that my Stripe key still works, but I think the JavaScript I'm going to show you will work nevertheless. Sorry. The other thing we can do is we can look at how to deal with local time, which is also something that I want to do. It's another example of Ajax, but it also helps you in your projects because it teaches you something about how to manage user profiles. Because now for each user, we would have to, we would have to store their own local time zone, right? And so it teaches you how to essentially customize your site a little bit better for your users. And the third of the 2 things I'm proposing is, pun intended, is that I would like to, at some point, to talk more about databases and how to lay out the data. So I can do any of these 3 things, you know. Basically, we're over the big camp of learning how to write Ajax in the browser. JavaScript in the browser, and with Ajax calls to the server. And so we have a little bit of freedom in what to do and how to organize these last classes. Later on, after 2 or 3 classes from now, in which I want to do these, what I want to do is to look at cloud. So how to do cloud deployments and how to use cloud APIs and how to build one with you, essentially. But for that, I'm not ready, and it's also a bit premature. I first want to finish this JavaScript portion with Stripe and local time. So any preferences, any questions, any things you want me to do? Yep. How to count thumbs? Yes, it's a question I was asked during office hours. My glasses, yeah. So, there are many ways, okay? But the way I would do it, and I have to say I haven't done it. So the person that really did it here, I think, is Lourdes, is working on the homework, or maybe did it. You haven't finished. It's tough. Maybe it was unfair for me to ask TS to do it, but maybe it's a good exercise.
No, it actually taught me a lot, especially knowing what variables get updated when. That's I think what most people also have problems with, understanding how to get the data from the database, displaying how it updates back, and all that whole process. Because when we create the list of posts, it's adding a bunch of attributes, and I think even though within the Bool object, you're setting some of those attributes, that's where I got lost actually. I know element in the post list.
Yes.
And it's like, why are those set there and not the others?
Okay, so let me try to answer that question, in fact. But maybe let me first talk about the thumb logic and then get you to your question with examples. Okay. So about the thumb logic, with the proviso that I haven't done it, I would have written it this way. You know, when you become a faculty, you're very good at talking about things you actually are not doing, right? So what you do, what I would have done is this: I would have gotten a list of all the thumbs up and downs by users who are not me, and you know the part of who are not me is simply different from auth.user.email, right? So in my select statement, I would have used this clause. Then you have, you know, for R in rows, I'm giving you these snippets of code, but they're sort of not connected because I'm just typing in the concept now. But you would say like number of thumbs plus equals, I should give a prize for who can write the shortest Python code in number of lines. I'm just kidding, I guess, and I don't want to look at the results necessarily otherwise. But like is plus equals to 1 if row.thumb is equal to up, else minus 1 if row.thumb is equals to minus 1. Okay, something like this, you know, that would do it. And this would enable to count you the number of thumbs. Eh? Oh yeah, D. No, T for thumb, not D for dumb. No, no, no I see. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Okay, yeah. Okay, great. So this would count the number of thumbs by other people, yeah? Right?
So one thing I did notice is that when it's getting the post from the database and it's also looking at the thumbs table, the thing is multiple records in the thumb table have the same post ID.
Yes, yes. Lourdes is exactly right. Multiple rows. So this statement I would have done as the code in the server that says essentially my posts is equal to db yada 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 select. Okay, so this fishes out of the posts. I'm sorry that, but this is a so I would have said for post in db select. Let me write the code schematically like this. Okay, so this iterates over every post. Okay, and then I say for R, to use the notation above, in db the thumbs the thumbs for p. Okay, select. Okay, and so these other loops over the thumbs for a particular post. Okay, then this line would actually be this line would actually be here, right? So you say sort of, now I want to count the thumbs for that post, and they say number of thumbs is equal to 0, right, at the beginning. So that, you know, your score is 0, and then you start tracking it, okay? And then at the end here, you say something like p dot thumb balance. I don't know how you want to call it. It's your business, okay? But you can say that is equal to a number of thumbs. Okay, something like this. Because as Lourdes mentioned, so there is so this is a solution in which you do one query per post, okay, which may not be ideal. There is another solution in which instead you say for combined row, let me say for combined row in db join over posts and thumbs select. Okay, so you can do a single query in which you do this query. I mean, maybe let me write it a little bit better. Okay, this would be, oh, it's a complicated query. It's one of these left database queries, actually. Okay, it's a query that is similar to Bitbucket. Let me go show you. Let me show you the precise place that is similar if you want to do the same query, okay? I think it may be in this branch. If I go to controllers API, I probably can find it here. Yeah, you see, this is a combined query in which I get the rows at once as the join between the posts and the user likes. Okay, so this would be a combined query. Okay, so if I do a combined query like this, then I would have to write more complicated code. So let me write it in this way. Rows is equal to db, and then I write combined query. This is a join with how it is called. Left is equal to yada yada select. Okay, so this is this complicated query, no? And I can tell you see this page. I'm sorry, I'm flapping around with the. I can tell you to see this page for the query. Okay, so you can write a combined query. Now the problem is this: that if you do this combined query, as Lourdes says, you have one row for each combination of post and users. And so your code needs to be a little bit different. And so the code I would write is a complicated code like this. Don't strangle me, but that's what I would write. I would write dictionary is equal to the empty set. Okay, and then I would say if, sorry. Can I continue, Lourdes, or do I need to listen to your question now?
No, we're just gonna add on that that example, that combined query. The one thing to note is that it's for one particular user that you're looking records for.
Oh yes.
We're checking if that person likes. So that's why, like,
yes. You would have to modify it. You see, this combined query here. Sorry, let me move this group chat. This combined query here has two portions. It has the join query that you need to keep, but then it has a conjunct that says that has to say, and the user is me. And here you have to do the opposite. You would have to do a joint query that says, all the likes or thumbs for the post, and the user is not me. So you would take one of these equals and you will turn it into a different, because you want to know the other people's thumbs, not your own thumbs. You don't care about your own thumbs.
Wouldn't they need to know it too, so that when
yeah, okay, they may need to know it too. So maybe you can just, it shows that I haven't done the homework. So you may delete it. Okay, but then you would write code like this, for r in rows, okay? And so the problem is this is a more complicated approach than the one above with the two nested fors. I don't particularly advise it, okay? But if you want to do it the single approach, then the problem is this, that I need to build a dictionary in which every post appears twice. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine that you have post 10 and users Luca and Lourdes, okay? In the output, you will have post 10 Luca, post 10 Lourdes. But in the list of posts, this post 10 has to appear only once, not twice. So how do we collect this information? And so I would have to say something like this. I have a dictionary that will map post ID to the post content. And then I would say, if row.post ID in dictionary, so if the post ID is already in the dictionary, we just need to update the dictionary. And then I would write a field such as d of r post ID dot num thumbs. Okay, number of thumbs. Okay, and I would update it. So plus equals. Okay, and then I would write code similar to this to update it, right? You increment it by 1 if row dot thumb, how it is called, thumb dot thumb, I mean, it's just that now you have to access the fields in a slightly more complicated way, right? But the concept is the same. So, okay. So if you already have, actually no, it's more complicated. So we have to say if row.post if row.thumb.user email is different from me, auth.user.email, then I update the count, okay? And if this is not the case, else I say d of r.post.post ID. This is my post, and then I say like or I don't know, owner thumb is equal to r.thumb.t, something like this, you know. This would kind of do it. And then you say else, and you would write a line that looks like d of r.post ID, okay, is equal to baba, babi, babu, zaza. This is a new dictionary in which I would put a bunch of fields, including like I don't know, what would I put? So this is a bad idea. So so I would first say not in D. So okay, I would de-indent these lines, because these are lines that take care very beautifully of the case in which you have the post. And then here I would say, if you don't have this done, then please build me one in which I say that dictionary, and I would say essentially like I don't know, like post title is equal to row.post.post title, something like this, right? And then I would write, how did I call it? Number of thumbs is equal to 0, because that's the initialization. Owner thumb is equal to none, because that's the correct initialization, you know, something like that, right? So the idea is that if you give me a single list of combined posts and thumbs, I have to avoid creating two entries for the same post. And I have to instead gather all the information about a post in a, for example, dictionary entry in Python, right? And so that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
It looks like here your own thumb doesn't count towards the number of thumbs?
Yes, in fact, that's my general suggestion. My suggestion is to be sure that your thumb does not count. Okay? And that's done on purpose, and I will in a moment explain you why. Okay? But since I got dragged into talking about how to implement on the server, I'm starting on this. So, but very good observation, thank you. I just wish I could have this stupid thingy here disappear. Okay, so great. So, and if you do it in this way, then in the end you have to say for, you know, for post ID, post info in, you know, d dot iter items, no? And then, you know, you have to produce the result that you return. So, I mean, this Python code is a bit awkward, but essentially what you need to do is, because you are giving this list in which posts are repeated, you have to sort of remove this duplication, right? So there are two approaches, and you can choose the one you want, and I don't even know which one in theory is better, okay? Because the problem is this, that if you were to implement this for a real blog, every post can be large. So the second approach, you would be moving out a lot of information out of the database, because for every single stupid like, for every single stupid thumb up or down, you would be returning to me the whole post. If the post is 2 kilobytes or maybe 10 kilobytes, because you know you are writing a literature essay and people are going to thumb it up and down, then if I'm going to have 120 people who liked it, that's 120 times 10 kilobytes that gets sent out of the database, you know, because the database gives you the result of the join. So that doesn't sound like a super great idea. So this second solution looks very sophisticated, because you say, hey, I'm a database wizard and I do a single join query, but in reality, you are reading a lot of information out of the database. I think the information, the approach I would really do is something like this. I would, so I would either use this approach, and this is maybe the easiest one by far for the homework, okay, to implement. If you were really to care about a large site, what I would do is this. I would simply give the list of posts, okay? Then when you are visualizing a post, I would actually worry about fetching this information via Ajax. Now, in a more sophisticated approach, instead, I would say, no, no, no. These people are hitting the homepage all the time. For example, I think about Reddit, right? How do you produce the Reddit homepage for a feed? Well, you have this thing, you have to have this thing cached. So you have to represent in the database two pieces of information that are mutually dependent. Both the balance of the thumbs and the individual ones. Because you want to have each post to have the pre-computed balance of the thumbs, because in this way you don't need to do any extra query, you can just random it. The only drawback is that then you have a complicated design decision. This is past what you need to do for the homework, but it's just in general. Then you have a complicated design decision of what to do when somebody thumbs up and down. For example, if Luca thumbs up and down this post, what do you do? The kosher way to do it would be to say, let me start a database transaction so that I keep consistency, and I increase by one the number of likes on the number of thumbs up on the post, and I also say that Luca liked it by inserting a line in the thumbs table, okay? And I do this in a transaction so that if 10 people liked the post, either I add a line to the table and now the total is going to be 11, or none of the two is done, so that the state is consistent. If the state is not consistent, imagine I increase that to 11, but imagine that for some reason the transaction where I add myself to the list of thumb backers fails. Then, the total is 11. The other 10 thumbs up are given by some of you. You may change your idea later because you may realize it's a really horrible post. You will remove your thumbs up, and now you have a post that nobody thumbs up, but that still has score +1, right? So the problem of not using transaction is that you can cause inconsistencies if something goes wrong. Okay? Not using transaction also means that if my thumbs up, so okay, so the other big problem. Okay, I'm getting dragged into something that has nothing to do with the homework. Okay, but let me get dragged in fully. So you may say, okay, fine, I don't really care about maintaining consistency between the fact that Luca thumbed it up and the total count. I just need the count to be fine. So you think that you can now write a read modify write without using a transaction. Okay. Now the problem is that if you are editing and some post is say one of these politically hot things, for example, a gazillion people are going to thumb it up and down in a very short time as soon as it's out there. And so what happens? I don't know your name, but I will call you Bob momentarily because you're there. Okay. So that Luca, Ada and Bob are the two inventors of properties. So I'm Ada for the moment. So Ada goes there. I read the database raw and it's 10. Bob goes there, reads it at this 10. I increment it and I go to 11. You increment it, I mean, not me or you actually, but the front-end server that serves our pull request would increment it and we would go to 11, right? And then I write it back to 11, you write it back to 11, and so we both like it that the total is only 11. How do you fix this? So it is one of the big surprises of when you actually make a big database service or a big service, that some of the things that you think are the most stupid and trivial and maybe should be able to do out of the tree that turn out to be some of the most difficult things to pull off. So in particular, you think, oh, counting, everybody get it out. Come on, you can't even count your visitors. You must be completely that. No, counting is incredibly hard. Because counting means that I have to keep some information that is consistent inside of very many changes per second. And this doesn't have a lot of super great solutions. So what are the solutions that would be used in practice? One is to shell big money to Oracle or IBM. Oracle and IBM they make a lot of their money by selling you database systems that are super very high performance, right? They keep everything in memory. They have these 64 or 128 super cores with shared caching and yada yada that I don't know what. They cost you $1 million a year in fees and or up, I guess. I never got one. But those are used by a lot of the things that need to be super fast and super reliable and super well done, you know. And if you are thinking something like, well, you know, I don't know what Walmart uses, but if you are one of these financial institutions that has a 3 gazillion transactions per microsecond, you get one of those, and you know that used to be the you know the general solution. So you simply pay money to somebody who does it for you. It would be the short answer. You just use a database with transactions, and then you pay one of these people who are actually worried about the problem in order to make it work fast enough for you. And there is nothing wrong with that solution, right? Because then you use your own brain cycles to instead work out the problems that others haven't worked out. So now you specialize what you do, and if you have so much money that you have so many transactions per second, then maybe that's okay to give a share of it to Oracle, or you know, something like that. So that's one solution. Another solution is this: you still want to count, and by the way, I really had to solve these problems in concrete for some of the work I did, especially with the startups. So we were, you know, if you want to count how many images come in a second, with a huge number. So what do you do? Another thing you can do is decide, okay, fine, the cheap database that I have, that in our case was really cheap because we were using something like data store or whatever, but the super cheapo database that we actually had can at most sustain 100 modification per second on the same piece of data. Now you have some idea of what the rate of the database is. When you do a transaction, how long does it take? How many transactions can you do a second on that thing? A modern MySQL database may do 1,000. But it depends also on how close the database is to you, how well replicated it is, you know. And so the number can be lower. So you say, fine, I can do 100, suppose. How many things can happen a second? 10,000. Okay, great. So what you do is this. Instead of having one total, you have 200 totals. Okay? So every time you get a user, you have user Luca that wants to like it, you compute a hash number for Luca. You know how to you compute hash numbers? I think you do, right? Otherwise, I'll show you in real time. I'll hash myself. Very exciting. To hash myself, I go to Python, okay? Okay, I import hashlib, okay? And then I say h is equal to hash lib dot SHA-256, okay? And I can say like the cat is happy. So you can give it an initialization key if you like, okay? And then you can do hash dot put, I think it's put, no, push, hash dot update, okay? And I say Luca says hi, okay? So you can add information. So for example, you instead of Luca says hi, you could have the user agent here. And then you can have here H, not hex digest, but you can have, you know, I always forget. Well, would be a cryptographically safe digest, which maybe I don't need. Hex digest, and this gives you a hash that is computed cryptographically safe from these. Or else maybe I can simply say hash of Luca is crazy. More appropriate. Okay, and that gives me an integer number. And if I do this modulo 200, I may know, you know, which thing to update. Okay, so every user has a single thing, and because I'm using a hash function, even if there are 10,000 users thumbing up at the same time, they get sort of randomly distributed. And if you're doing statistics, you can compute the marginal probability that there is any one of those servers that actually receives more than 200 requests in that second and will blow up and lose a like. And then you can compute it over a day. Again, if you're doing statistics, you wonder why statistics is fundamental for CS time, you know. And you can compute the probability that you lose a like during the day, and you can just choose your numbers big enough so that you don't lose a like. Okay? Now you can count pretty well. The only problem is that you have 200 counts. And whenever you need the true count, you need to add them up. And now here there is another stupid problem. I have 200 counts. It's like Heisenberg's principle of uncertainty, right? That either you know the count but you don't know when, or you know the time but you don't know the count. Because now you have 200 numbers, and these 200 numbers change all the time. So how are we going to add them up? You know, if you read them sequentially, which is cheap, you know the count very cheaply, but you don't know when it's true, right? It's like it's not a concept of the situation. Maybe that's good enough for Reddit, right? Nobody cares. In Reddit, nobody cares because nobody has not rules. So this would be more than good enough for Reddit. Okay. Now, if you want to do better, actually, there are databases that enable you to read transactions at much cheaper rate in terms of cost than read, modify, write transactions. And so there are many databases that if you have a table of characters, would be quite happy, Postgres is one of them, to let you do a transaction in which you read all the counts at a particular snapshot in time. All the database has to do is essentially associate take a snapshot of that table, and the other modifications, do them up for a moment that it can give you the transaction to you, and then you can run the errors. Okay, so there are ways, and you have to take the database class to know the insights of how this is done. But generally, a transaction for reading is cheaper, so you can read these 200 characters, and then you can add them at your own rate. Okay, and so this works also well. Another general way that is sometimes used is this. You give up the idea of counting. Now, for counting, what I've done in the past is still have counters that just use hashed counters. Sharded counters is the technical term, very common thing to do. Okay, but if you need to another very common idea is this, and this again goes counter to the intuition. The intuition says, oh, counting is easy, anybody can count, but writing is hard. You need to go to elementary school. I mean, I don't know the other, but something like that. But instead, the truth is that writing is kind of cheap because you don't need to maintain any consistency. You just add one line to the previous thing, right? So you could decide, okay, fine, I don't keep any count. I just have a log file, or I write a table in which whenever somebody thumbs up, I simply say, look, with this timestamp, did thumb up. Okay? And I just write to it. And so I have a table that gets longer and longer. Maybe every month I create a new table and the other one on ice. I don't know what I do. Okay, but then at the end of each day, I can quite simply go over the table and make a total of what's written there. Right? I can process it at the end of the day, and this also works well because even if you do that, you see the region in this table where you add sub is the end, so you always add rows, right? And the region that you need to read is the previous one, so you never have a read-write conflict on that table because you're always going to read the past and you're always going to take stuff on at the end. So this is a table that would work with a very low database contention. So it's true you have to read a lot of data in the database, but this one would work well. Okay, and maybe you figure out that anyway you need to keep a lot of user actions for other purposes. And so it's maybe not that horribly bad to have any table that just logs these kind of actions. In fact, that would be commonly done in many of these websites that implement social science. I don't want to know that Luca thumbed up pig, but Luca thumbed up pig while eating a bagel with a bit of cheese on the nose, while in the other window he had opened Facebook, and on the other window he was like browsing his email. I don't know what he thumbed it up, but he was staring at it only for 5 seconds from when he opened the photograph, and his mouse covered a square inch area of so much on the screen before he thumbed it up, so he couldn't possibly have looked at it. I don't know, you figure it out, but often you want to have these user behavior logs that you're going to process then via log processing, okay? And so you may also do it in that way. So, okay, completely derived from the normal content of the class, but okay. So that's how you may do in a high performance implementation. Now, coming back to the homework, which I realize may be the more pressing concern. Why did I say that it's a good idea to actually not keep track of all the counts, but only of the counts by others? Because let's keep total balance. Actually, B, okay? C is equal to counts by others. T is equal to my thumb. Okay? And so I can simply say that the total balance is equal to T plus 1, I'm writing in an imaginary language, plus 1, well, I guess it can become a real language if I put a parenthesis. 1 if T is equal to up, else elif -1 if t I don't know, okay, it became an imaginary language, I guess. Okay, but you do it in this way. So you see, it's very useful because when you do the UI, the only thing you can change is your own line, your own thumb. So it's much easier to keep it out of the total and just compute the total and then permit, right? Because you know the other total maybe I don't know 110. Fine, okay, I have 110, and then I can figure out which number to display by simply looking. Okay, there is 110, but what did this user do? Did it you up or down? And you can update it. Okay, it's much easier. At least that's the way I would have done it. Of course, you can do it also in the other way, right? No, you know what is the true advantage of this way? The other way to do it would be the following, okay? You have the total including me, and then you have to write a complicated rule that says, oh, if the total was 110 and there was some back, and now I can be down a little bit, well, then I subtract 2. Else, if this, and so both is mind-boggling, at least for my mind, okay? This is problem number 1. And the problem number 2 is that you're doing a fallacy of writing code that is a fundamental fallacy if you can avoid it. That is, never write code that depends on tracking changes correctly in order to be correct. Okay? Suppose that you write the code in this style. At the beginning, the total is 0, and then I modify it correctly forever after. And every time you change your action, I know how to modify my total. If I ever screw up, I never get it correctly again. This is not self-healing code. If you do a mistake in one place, you're going to be off forever. Okay? The way I'm suggesting is much more stable. You can screw up your equation, but you never go by plus or minus 1 away from the correct answer. Notice that. I mean, it's a stupid assertion, okay, the one I just made. But it's a true assertion nevertheless. Okay? It's also self-healing because you know, even if I you know, you have a lot of on click, on mute, on zip, on zop events. Even if you scrap how you write the handling of one of those events, the next event you handle, if you use the right formula, boom, your total is correct again. So the total depends only on the state and not on a very long chain of changes that happened in order to arrive at that state. Is this difference kind of clear? It's a bit of, you know, there are two ways of keeping a balance of your bank account. Okay, one is this: you started the month with $1,000, and then you know you keep a running total. Oh, I spent $5 for the ice cream. Now I'm at $9.95, and then you know I get and then you every day you know I'm at $9.76. You know, and then you add and if you do a mistake, you don't know how to recap. A much easier way is to base yourself on state. So you say 1,000, and then you just write in write-only mode the list of transactions you did that month up to that point. And when you did the total, you just add them up on the fly. If you make a mistake, it's much easier, no? Now you find a receipt from 3 days ago, and it's much easier to check whether you have already tallied it or not. I mean, you base yourself on state, and you make sure that your code is self-healing in the sense that you know, if you ever made a mistake in reading the transactions, so now that you run it again, and now you read the set of correct transactions, now you get the right total of what your bank account should be, right? So a general design principle for this kind of code: self-healing and base yourself out of state, and not a long sequence of transaction processing. Okay, I think those are fairly general ideas. I see a lot of disapproval in the way many people look at me. I don't know if you're simply puzzled or if you're saying, but you're not answering our question. So maybe the latter, I guess. So what do you, any?
So far, what I was recommending is that they put those values in the post list per post.
Yes.
And then set those attributes in blue to watch them when the self dot process code function, so that when there are changes in the post list, like that's the one where I got the best. Like in general, I recommend that using the post list, every post keeping the count of the sum, and also if the person or what the current user has for for that particular.
Yes, yes, I agree with her. So I would do essentially these. You have a self who.post list. Okay, and then I would say a post is an object, okay, and I would so have it with various fields. For example, I would have post ID, I would have post title, okay, but then I would have, let's say, have like thumbs by others. It sounds like the title of a movie. What is it? There's a movie similar. But, well, what movie was it? The Likes of Other Lives. No, it was a beautiful movie. Yeah, what? Yes. This beautiful movie about the immigrants, right? No, it's another one. These immigrants in Paris. Okay, so I mean, it was an exceptional movie. No, a truly moving and fantastic movie. I'll find it and post it. It was something that the life of others. Okay, no, maybe I remember what you said. Okay, but at any rate, we will find it. Maybe it was that. You know, I see many movies, so you know, it could be one or the other. Anyway, the thumbs by others. Somewhat less poetical, okay? And then I can have like my thumb, but maybe you want to give it another title. I feel like I'm a toddler. But there is my thumb, um, my blanket, like Linus of Charlie Brown fashion. No, just kidding. Thumbs by others, my thumb. Then there is this index field, and then there is, I don't know if you need other things, but I would essentially do something like this, okay? So my old comment was that the total by others and my thumb, I would have kept it separate. So I would have kept the total of thumbs up and down by others separate from my own. Okay. And there is another thing that is important. Now, this is enough to know what the database state is, but it's not enough to drive the UI, as you may have realized, right? Because now to drive the UI, you need to know my thumb is up or down. I'm assuming that you represent it this way. You could have many people I saw representing with a couple of booleans. But then I need to know where you are hovering. No? And so it's like my temporary thumb. Okay, so this would be one way to implement it. There are many ways of doing the homework, but the idea is this: when you hover over thumbs up, you have a temporary thumbs up because you're sort of considering, shall I click here or not? And you don't know quite yet. Okay, and once you click on it, you sort of confirm it. And the thumb up represents the state in the database. This is what I gave you in the instructions for doing the homework, right? That there is the state and when the state in the UI, which is my temporary thumb, coincides with the state in the database, the thing has to be black and otherwise has to be gray, right? And so I would drive the grayness class out of the fact that these two values are the same. That's how I would have done it. Very similar to what I did for the face, right? And for the face, I was also driving the grayness of the face according to whether this was the same state that was in the database of the opposite, right? And so I would have these two values, okay? Yeah, right? And I think, not having done the homework, but I kind of think that with this I could pull it off. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea that I had. I'm still curious about why you said some of those.
Sorry,
So why you set some of the post attributes in blue?
Okay, yes. So yeah, this is an incredibly good question. So let me repeat it to everybody while showing it as a code sample here, okay? So her question is essentially, hey, when you get to this list from the server, Sorry, I'm a bit lost. Oh, I'm not looking at the server. I need to look at. Um, I need to look at views. No. Yeah, sorry. I'm just going around here. Static JS default index. Okay, so it's here. Let me just magnify a moment. So she's essentially asking. I'm sorry. No, maybe I can scroll everything. No. You know, this web design. When you do web design, and never think that you're smarter than the user and you know better. You know, surely Luca wants to see this useful less information which never changes, rather than the useful text that he can actually scroll. Okay, so but she's asking why I set attributes in this way. Okay, this is because these attributes here are not present on the server. So the story is this: you receive an object that at the beginning may look like this. Let me animate it a moment here, okay? You receive an object that initially may have field A and B. This is your object. Now you want to add, and I wish I could write in red, but you want to give another field, for example, C with an underscore, okay, just to denote that this is new. So this is some new stuff that you're defining in the client, okay? So you could do perfectly well here, except that I cannot edit, I guess. But I could write E dot underscore like as known is equal to false. That would be the obvious way to set an attribute of an object, right? So if the object here is called obj, just to be full of fantasy, I could write something like obj.c is equal to 7. Okay, underscore c, I guess, is equal to 7. Okay, that's the usual way. Instead, I say, what do I say actually? I say who set object underscore c 7. Okay, that's what I write. Why? Why do I write that? The reason is this. Who has to be able to observe the changes to obj in order to update the view. Okay? If you simply say object dot slash underscore c is equal to 7, this underscore c becomes a poor field of obj that happens to have value 7. And underscore c will be just a field that has value 7, and that's it. And if you change its value 7 to a value 8, there is nothing that would trigger any kind of view behavior at all, right? We would not know any better. What you need to do is create an underscore c that has two fields. It has the value 7 in it, but it has a sort of infiltrated spy that is there like a mole, essentially, so that when you change the value of underscore c from 7 to 8, this mole will call back its handler and say, hey, you know, they changed the value to 8, you better update the UI. And then who goes and updates the UI to reflect the change value. So who needs to be able to plant these moles all over your objects so that he can observe the changes. That's the sort of pictorial way yeah, you may say that I read too much, you know, Graham Greene, etc. But that's a sort of pictorial way of looking at it. Okay? And so that's why I do it that way. So if you don't do it that way, you get a lot of very funny things that are completely incomprehensible because you say, look, this underscore C of this stamp status, look, I really changed it in the right way. Why is the display not changing? And the way is because who is clueless that you changed it. Nobody informed it. And if you want to see that in action, I can show it to you in action what these things are. For example, I can go back to this code, which is 1029. And maybe I have it here even already. Git branch. No, git. Oh boy, where am I? No, sorry, I'm in the wrong directory. Git branch. Right. Git checkout 2018 to 1029. Okay, so if I now run web2py, just a second, okay, I'll show it to you. And so start. I'm always wondering, whether it gets confused my web2py installation because there's four switch so much context between the database at some point. So if I now inspect, no, I can inspect the post list. So let's take a look at it a moment. Get the console and I say app view post list. Okay, so this is the post list. It's three objects. So let's look at one of these objects. Okay, so let's look at one of the things that I added in the special way. Oops, where did my window go? Ah, here. For example, likers known. Okay, if I look at likers known, you would assume, oops, this should be something. Ah, no, okay. So, one is something that is like this, but then it has these methods of getters and setters for likers known. These are essentially the moles. Okay, I haven't looked into them, but they are the things that contain some callback somehow to Vue. For function location is in Vue min.js, you see? These getters and setters depend on Vue. And so if you don't have these getters and setters that get triggered by your changing the value, you wouldn't be able to observe the change in value. That's the short. Okay? And so sometimes I don't define these via the Vue set. And you don't need to do it if they come from the server, because when you do the original assignment, this is the only point that I don't think very know about. When you do the original, you say, well, but what about the attributes that come from the server? Those are sort of taken care of by the assignment, by the original assignment that you do when you fetch the post list. When you fetch the post list, it is here, no? And wait, no, process post, it's here, get posts, okay? So when you do this assignment, because post list is a watched variable by Vue is able to say, haha, now you give me a list. Okay, let me look into it. And it adds its decorators to every element of the list. Okay? So when you assign to a Vue variable in this way, it's able to decorate it all. But when you instead create a new field, the Vue is not able to decorate that field, because you're using an underlying capability of JavaScript that bypasses Vue's ability to observe the change. I don't, yeah.
Is it also in part because you're not adding a post, you're just updating it? So you don't actually want to get all that information from the database. So what you're doing is keeping it consistent by Vue updating posts.
No, it's not really that. It's that the database gives me only some fields, and I want to have more fields. And another perfectly good way of doing it, of writing the code, would be to have to define these underscore fields. Let me do the right thing a moment. Okay, so now if I go here, burger accordion, what is this? Wait. Oh, I'm in layout.html, I'm sorry. I should be here. Okay, so you see, instead of likers known here, a perfectly good way of doing it would have been in my API to say, I don't know, something like this, right? This would have been a perfectly good way of doing it. So if you wanted to construct on the server everything you need in the client, you can do that. And then you don't need those full set. It's only that in general I wanted to teach you how to do it because it's far more general. Also because often you cannot really, I mean, if the server is complicated to change or maybe it's not yours, you need to know how to add these things, right? If the server is yours, you can always say, who cares? I waste a bit of bandwidth by adding this, null information because I will update it later. But if the server depends on somebody else because you're getting like the results of the football matches, and then you're decorating them from for the stars or the whatever you do, then you have to add fields to your own structure. Yes. No, you would not, because these extra fields would exist only in my post list in the browser. The question is, if you add fields here, do you have to add them to the table? No, you don't need to add them to the table. The table only reflects what you want to store in the database. These fields exist only in the browser in order to drive the display of each post. Very good question, though. Yeah. Other questions on this? Is it kind of clear why I need this who set? I mean, I have to tell you, is the one thing I do not like about who. Because who works because it manages everything transparently. And this is one instance in which is that not only is not transparent, but if you get it wrong, it's very, you know, the first time that I got it wrong, I think I spent 2 hours on it, frankly. I was teaching myself who from scratch, you know, I didn't know who. I mean, you know, there is the first time in which you learn it, and I didn't have a TA. You know, I was like, quick, I need to learn. I'm gonna teach you this class. I better pretend I know it. And so I was doing that, and I couldn't get it to work. And it was, you know, you never feel so incredibly stupid when you think, okay, I'm a professor with published work, a PhD, and whatever else, and I cannot assign a diameter 3 to this stupid variable and see the effect on the screen. Is that what my knowledge amounts to? But that, yeah, it was what it amounted to for a couple of hours. And yeah. Yes, what is this? This, I'm doing something that is officially not according to the style book of JavaScript. But what I'm doing is this. Enumerate is a function, okay? And what does this function do? It returns, it takes an argument v and returns v map. So I run over v a map of a function e that says e index is equal to k plus plus. So I would not have written it in this way, to tell you the truth, okay? But let me write an equivalent way of writing this in a simpler way, okay? Var enumerate is equal to a function that takes an array v, and what it does, it's that it says, well, yeah, but I'm writing the same code. Well, a simple code would be var I is equal to 0, I smaller than v dot length, I plus plus. Okay, and then I would say v dot index is equal to I. And now you probably want to kill me because, you know, this you would have been able to read and that would have been unreadable. But what is that I wrote in an unreadable way? So I don't know how many of you know functional programming, but the same is true with Python. So what is the operator map is something that takes a list and a function and applies the function to every element of the list, returning the result. Okay? For example, I have a list of tomatoes. My operator is called slice. And if I do the map of the slice operator on the list of tomatoes, I will obtain a list of sliced tomatoes that I can use for a salad. Okay, that's the general idea. So this comes from Lisp originally. Lisp is a language that is functional and based on these operators, and so it does not have a for loop. A for loop is a very it's a very mechanical construct. It's not, you don't say what you want to do, you are saying how you do it. You know, notice how this is kind of awkward. I say, you know, hey, set I to 0, then increment it 1 by 1. You know, I mean, you don't care that. You just care about applying the function to every element of the list. And so what I'm saying is this. Let's decode this code a moment. It says, I say k to 0, set k to 0, and then I create a function that takes a parameter and decorates the parameter with k and increments k. Now, this is not nice. And I didn't write it. I actually copied it from somebody else which I rename unnamed. Okay, but I probably would not have done it, should not have done it. Because it breaks one important thing about what map is. But let me tell you why it works. JavaScript is not a fully functional language. So when JavaScript does map, it does map like a poor old man, you know? So it iterates over the list and does map one at a time. And so this works because k is initially 0, and whenever the function is mapped on an element of this list, it's, you know, it increments k by 1 and associates the value to the index. Okay? Now, this is a bad way of using map, and so maybe I should really swallow the pill and improve this code once and for all. Because one of the things that make map a fundamental operation, let me just write to you what map does in an abstract way. No? And in Python, you have a map operator. Map is something that looks like this. So map of a function f over a list AB gives you a list composed of f of A and f of B. Okay? Now, the reason why I used map in a really obnoxious bad way is this. What is beautiful about map is that it does not talk about iteration. It tells you the effect. And so map is fundamentally fantastic when you want to get parallelism. In fact, if you look at the Python parallelization, it uses a sort of map operator. I don't remember what it's called, but that if you look in the training module, you have a sort of map operator that essentially says, you know, give me a list of stuff to do and give me a function. And they will actually create one thread for every element of the list, and then we will call the function for that element in that list. So that if I have a, you know, a CPU with a 10 CPU cores, you know, you can create a list of 10 tasks, and then you can map a function over the list, and this will actually do it in parallel. Right? That is the interesting thing about map. The beautiful thing is that it tells you what you want to do, but doesn't prescribe the order in which you do it. So the way I wrote it in, the way it was used in JavaScript is actually a really bad example of how to use it. Questions? So I did nothing in this class, right? Many of my days happen like this. Okay, so the homework is due Wednesday, no, Friday night. So you still have also Friday to work on it, and we will see each other on Friday as well. Okay, so you can ask more questions on Friday. Okay.
Yeah, I did 2 hours of office hours today because people needed.
Yeah. Let me just stop the recording.